Hello and welcome to episode 25 of the Pop Shock podcast.
That sounded so depressing.
Did it?
You were like, welcome.
Episode
It was like you wanted to kill yourself.
Just to get sort of full disclosure out of the way, I really can't be arsed tonight. I'm not going to lie, I'm pretty tired. But hey, it's fine. We're here, we're doing it. Let's bat in. Although part of the reason that I'm kind of like nose hyped again. Remember the last time we recorded, we were like, "There's nothing happened." I mean, you just did the
it was a
the best fan theories.
Yeah. The
again, hardly anything has happened in the world.
Well,
there's not been. We're going to talk about something that
massive thing happened.
Yeah, we're going to talk about a big loss that's sort of happened recently, and then we're going to do our what we've been watching, and then we're going to move on to the topic for this episode, which is going to be the best ambiguous endings in cinema, and we're going to go through it. Now, you probably don't know who's on this episode if you're watching this because there is no cameras for this week. I was having that part of the reason I'm depressed was I was fighting my camera before just 2 seconds ago there
for 20 bloody minutes.
I decided to give up and just do audio only because hey, we're a podcast who needs to see our faces.
Good today.
So yes, Chrissy didn't want me the only one with my camera, so we're just.
Because I was camera shy. I was like, oh, don't actually have my chins. I'm not the one talking.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're listening to this on the audio feed, then it won't make a difference. But if you're watching it, that's why. But I'm Dan, and I'm here, and I'm joined by the gorgeous Courtney. I mean, I say gorgeous, but you can't see us this week, so for all you know, we could be dragons with 3 heads, but we're not. In fact, yeah, we are. We're just a 3-headed dragon. This is one person who can speak.
Let's go that way. Yeah, let's go, mate.
Yeah, okay, that's a nice visual. In fact, I sort of laid it in for the YouTube video. I edit in a dragon with our 3 heads on it.
Oh, geez.
Like, see that dragon, that 3-headed Hydra meme where like the two of them look pure handsome and one of them floats for Goofy at the end?
Is that me?
I'll be the Goofy one. I'm going to say it's me, but
alright,
what is? Then what is? Yeah, so yeah, Dan, Courtney, and I'm also joined by Glazed Chrissy as regular listeners. I'm sure will recognise your dulcet tones.
I'll hate my voice. I'm probably like take the headphones out right now and like, oh, I'm going to deafen myself.
Oh shit, he's on this
Turns out
episode.
you're only tuning in for your beautiful face.
They're
can't have that.
They're tuning in for the intro and then just to see if I'm on it, and then they couldn't tune out.
It's like what's his name? It always announces that he's on the song, Jason Derulo, and he's always like Jason Derulo, and you're like, turn this off.
No,
but at least he tells you. You know what I mean? At least he lets you know.
And at least as a warning shot, you know.
Yeah. So with all the cheesy stuff out of the way, let's get on to something a bit depressing. Kevin Conroy died.
Wow.
Kevin Conroy.
Yeah, you went right in for the killer stroke there, you know?
Yeah. Why not mess
like the legend,
Band-Aid.
the mystery,
rip off
the thin man that was Batman.
You know?
I
used to have done this intro.
This is going so well.
Yeah, the voice of Batman passed away, which is really sad and sucky for people like us who grew up with him.
Exactly. Yeah.
We're going to kind of speak about some of our kind of memories, but Chris, you were pretty gutted. You're a big Batman guy, right?
I was shocked. It was actually what's his name? Jared. Jared's post. I saw it on like Facebook, and he said R.I.P. and I was like, oh, he's taking the piss here. Like because he's a Marvel fan, he's trying to dig at DC. And then I went into like, I was like, that's pretty brutal, you know, even for an Irish guy. Like
that's dark.
That's dark. And he actually did. It was like cancer. And I was like, oh my god. The disease that just takes everybody, it's like can't even stop.
Oh, you're hearing it more and more recently. Like it turns out that he'd actually been battling it for a while.
Exactly.
And he kept trying to work as much as he could and go to cons and stuff. And it's only.
I feel like it is something that you do want to just kind of keep private to yourself, though, especially when.
Well, look at Chadwick.
Yeah, when you're known as such a kind of strong, iconic character, like you want to kind of keep that image in people's minds. I think.
Definitely.
Like, nobody knows what he looked like when he was sick. Like everybody still pictures him as the image of strength. Like he played Batman.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's really important for a legacy for people like that.
I think he was still thinking he was going to be working because I watched Kevin Smith. He done like a kind of like 5 minutes on stage about him, and he said he was booking him into a podcast like in January of next year. And I'm like, oh fuck! So he didn't even know. Like, it must have been like a thing. Like the doctor
I think that's
just
like
said.
a mindset that some people try and get themselves into, though, to try and help them through it. Like, nah, this won't get me. Like, I will be here for.
It's the same with Chadwick. Like,
for ages.
I know it's a kind of obvious comparison because they're both like superhero guys that died from cancer. But I was watching that interview with Ryan Coogler, and he was saying that like, don't know, like 2 or 3 weeks before they were due to start shooting, he phoned him. And he said in the script, and he was phoning to see what he thought. He's like, "Would I get a script?" And he's like, "Oh, I've no kind of chance to read it, but I'll read it tonight, and I'll see you in 2 weeks' time and stuff." And he was like, "Right, okay." And he was like, "But you're happy with like, because they already had the idea of Namor and all that down." He was like, "You're happy to introduce like Namor and stuff," and like just kind of ran it on by me. And I was like, sounds great. I'll be there in 2 weeks' time." And that was the last time I spoke to him.
It's fucking.
So,
but I mean, how could you get yourself into the mindset of, nah, mate, I'm not going to be able to do that?
The only thing that Ryan Coogler said was he could tell that Chadwick was lying down when he was on the phone to him, and that's normally like I think he's the kind of guy who would pace about on the phone, and he thought it was kind of weird. He was like, it sounded like he was just chilling, like lying on the couch or whatever, and he was like, that's not like him kind of thing. But other than that, he had no idea. Like,
that's sad.
No idea.
It's one of those things. It's like a disease that it's creeping up more and more. Like I've noticed that, like just in like kind of family circles or like people that you know of, like cancer now is just increasing, and you're like, oh my god,
well,
you think
1 in every 2 people or something that get it in a lifetime now. So,
and you even think like those icon guys from your life, and you're like, oh, they'll never get touched by it, and that actually kills them.
But I guess that's the only. I guess if you're trying to take away a positive for these kind of icons passing away, at least it's bringing like
so
awareness to it. Yeah. Like there will be a lot of folk, there'll be a lot of Batman fans that will donate to cancer charities in the back of this news, and the same with Marvel fans. You know, it does kind of spread the word that nobody's untouched by it and stuff, and hopefully it means we can get it sorted quicker. You know, if people are putting their money in the shit. So that's the only positive thing, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, like I don't know about yours, but see, even like he's been there for about 20, like my whole childhood and stuff like that.
That's it. He's been there your whole life. It's
like
it was the same when Robin Williams died. It's somebody who grew up with, that's always been there.
And like, it was always like, it was always like a person you could count on. Like you could either read a comic book and he would be the voice, or like if you were feeling like fucking down one day, you just stick it on and he's like fucking going through tough times. You're like, oh, it's alright, Batman went through it as well. So it's like, oh man, mental. It's weird things you attach stuff to.
We'll get to our sort of memories of it in a minute. I just want to read out what Mark Hamill said. He said Kevin was perfection. He was one of my favourite people on the planet, and I loved him like a brother. He truly cared for the people around him. His decency shone through everything he did. Every time I spoke with him, my spirits were elevated. And he called him the definitive Batman and the exact right guy for the exact right part. He'll always be my Batman.
I think quite a lot of people feel that way, that he'll always be their Batman.
Yeah. I sort of feel like Batman died. I know I'm silly.
No, but I know what you mean, though.
Oh no, yeah, like, that's even more hard. I didn't want to go there, but yeah.
I mean, well, I think. I mean, he was only 66. Like, he wasn't an old man, so really, he should have been doing it for another 20 years. Do you know what I mean? So the fact that it's been stuffed out so quickly, and you're never going to get another game with him or another show with him again. It's like it does feel like a big shock. And that was the thing I was going to say. Like, if you just kind of like go to like your favourite stuff that he's done. But for me, like, he's created it. I grew up when I was young. Obviously, I grew up with the animated series, like every kind of 90s kid did. Which was the first time we heard him and Hamill together. You know, and all the kind of iconic episodes and stuff. And then, obviously, as a teenager playing the Arkham games, that was like a huge thing.
Yes.
I mean, you could argue. Some people say that Hamill and Conroy did their best work in the Arkham games. Some people say it was an animated series, but regardless, they were both brilliant performances. And that whole dynamic and that whole chemistry, and it added so much to the like lore of Batman and Joker. I think like it built their dynamic better than it had ever been done on the page. I think like it really emphasised how they're two sides of the same coin, and how I don't know there was a sort of respect for each other, even though they were enemies. And I don't know. Conroy and Hamill get that across so well, I think. And it got to the point, like, I played the Arkham games and watched the show before I started reading comics. So then when I started reading Batman comics, whenever I read a Batman comic, that's the voice I hear. Like, when I read Batman's dialogue, I hear Kevin Conroy in my head. And when I read Joker's dialogue, I hear Mark Hamill's, voice in my head. So And I think that'll be like, I guess that's the way I like saying it's kind of immortal. Like, even though he's gone, every time for the rest of my life, every time I read a Batman comic, I'm going to use his voice. So it kind of show you how kind of much an impact it had and how iconic it was.
And I feel like also kind of props to Mark Hamill. Like, he's had a lot of tragedy and like his kind of older life, because I mean that's him. He lost Carrie Fisher, and now he's lost Kevin Conroy, and I really feel like that's his parents. Do you know what I mean? Like, you think of Mark Hamill in like any other kind of context, you either pair him with Kevin Conroy or you match him with Harrison Ford with Carrie Fisher. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's two massive parts of his life.
Also Peter Mayhew and Kenny Baker were also dead.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Not many of the original Star Wars crew left, but yeah. Chrissy, I'm just going to ask you, have you got any like favourite like examples of his work? Like, is there anything when you think of Conroy's body of work?
Oh, fucking hell! There's everything. Oh my god! Like, even the animated series is one thing, but they always had spin-offs and every single one. The one that really touched me was, I think it was Phantom, a Mask of the Phantasm. That was
Mask of the Phantasm.
That was one of the ones that was like, it was a film. It wasn't just like a wee 30-minute cartoon extended. It was a deep story.
They made a sequel as well. There was Mask of the Phantasm, and then there was one with Mr. Freeze.
Yeah,
it wasn't Heart of Ice. Sub-Zero. That was it.
Sub-Zero was great with the two polar bears, and
that
was brilliant. That was an emotional one. That was
again Conroy's dialogue, and that's
his delivery was fucking spot on. It's one of those things where he was. People always say that about like even Ben Affleck, but he was. The way he played Batman and Bruce Wayne, even though you knew Bruce Wayne was basically the fake voice, he was always Batman. But it was like the way he kind of turned it, it was just magical. So it's
Conroy was the first. I remember Troy Baker saying this when Troy Baker done him in the Telltale series.
Mm-hmm.
He said that he took that for Conroy. He's like, as much as he likes other kind of Batman over the years and stuff, Conroy was the first to give Bruce Wayne a voice and Batman a voice.
Yeah.
Like, they both had their own definitive. You know, Bruce Wayne was more a casual voice, and Batman was more a kind of authority. Like, he spoke authority.
It was the way. Like, if you listen to him, it wasn't like a massive change. But you're right, it was just the way he was.
I guess it was more subtle. It wasn't like Christian Bale, you know, where it was. It wasn't his
scary bugger.
It was more subtle than that. Yeah.
But it was just like demanding. Like anything he said was like authoritative, as you said. It was like, oh god, right, you need to listen to him. Otherwise, when he was talking to Bruce Wayne, it was like, he's just a rich boy.
Yeah.
I was going to bounce at his song there. Just a rich boy. Da 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 da.
Keep going, Stefani.
I mean, you need to bring some joy into a gloom, horrible situation. But yeah, like, well, the one thing when I think it was the Killing Joke, the animated series, was like the most recent thing I saw, like he voiced in.
Yeah,
and that was disappointing.
That wasn't great.
But
that was their fault. That was the writer's fault.
No, but I remember him saying that was a privilege to do that massive like classic comic book. You know, it was a good.
Well, Hamill came back for that because Hamill was done after the Arkham games. And
Jenkins done now. Jenkins done forever now.
I think he's done forever now.
Especially now.
Yeah. I don't see Hamill coming back again.
He's never going to come back.
Sad, but yeah.
I mean,
do you have any Batman voice memories?
Just mainly, like as you said, like watching the cartoon as like a kid, and then just through watching and playing like the different games with you, like it definitely. Obviously, I don't have as much of a kind of memory of it as you guys do because you're way more into it than me. But it just was the sound of Batman. Like when you think about like Batman, when you think about hearing Batman. That's just a voice that pops into your head.
Mm-hmm.
Way more than like a Christian Bale or whatever. Like his was classic.
I would also go as far as to say other characters have. I don't think any character has a definitive voice as much as Kevin Conroy and Batman. Like, we think of Spider-Man, you can go with Tom Holland's voice, and you can go with
you could
Andrew Garfield's voice,
as long as it's a kind of young, kind of carefree.
And then, or like Superman, even like Cavill, but they've also got like Christopher Reeves.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like Batman. Even though there's been loads of Batman over the years, different actors play them.
I feel like all of them, probably apart from Christian Bale, have kind of had, maybe not even intentionally, but they've had his voice to kind of mimic. I feel like when you go to play Batman, you would have his voice
in the background,
even just in the back of your mind.
Well, whenever I whenever I see a new Batman, like when Affleck did it and when Pattinson did that, the first person that I compare him to is Conroy. I'm like, is he as good as? Is he anywhere near Conroy? Like, to me, that is like the bar.
Because that's the thing, like Batman, as like we've already said, he had such a presence as Batman because he gives you that, like that safeness, like, and the strength just coming through purely in his voice.
Yeah.
Like,
because
he never played him in person. He never played him live action, did he?
He played Chris Martin. He played him in like Legends of Tomorrow as like an old Bruce Wayne.
Aye, like a backing.
He had like a robot suit and some.
It was
like,
it was kind of shite.
He never played him as like a young Batman.
He never played him in the suit.
No.
So like the fact that that's who everyone compares themselves or stars to, and it's purely just through a voice, is absolutely remarkable. Like, it's insane.
Yeah.
Do you think there would be anybody? Is there anybody up and coming that you know that could potentially take over? I don't think they're not the new anyway, but is there anybody that matches with him?
One thing I did think, I've not heard Winston Duke say anything about it, but he's voicing him. He's voicing Batman on Spotify. Batman Unburied, I think it's called.
Oh, cool.
And it's like a Batman audio story.
I love Winston
Duke's voiced him. But I don't know if he's... I know that he spoke about Conroy in the past when he was doing... Because it started like a year ago, I think. And when Winston Duke started it, I remember him saying, like... He was like... He's trying to pay homage to the ones that came before, like, you know, the Christian Bale and Conroy and stuff, but not be... Put his own spin on that and stuff. But I don't know if he said it since he passed. I've not heard it about it.
He's the star from Black Panther, isn't he?
Baku. Yeah.
And Us.
Christ, when you think about it, he's got a connection to both Chadwick and Conroy.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Fuck. No, it's sad as hell. I was wondering, like, probably my next task is to actually watch his library of work again. It's been ages.
No, but you know something?
It's weird. I've never watched him.
I've not watched him since I was a kid, but there's a part of me that's like, I should go back and at least watch something like an episode or something just to get a feel for it.
Yeah.
Because you do kind of... Or I did replay the Arkham games recently, to be fair. The last thing I played my PS4 before Courtney got the PS5 was the Arkham games. Still holds up as well. Like, both those games and the performances is still, like... It doesn't matter how many years go by, it's still great. Do you know what I mean? It's timeless.
I mean, it's going to be... I think it's going to be, like, even when people were saying when Ben Affleck was going, like, to do, like, become Batman, he's got to hold up to Christian Bale and everything. But this is going to be... I don't know if there will be somebody that takes over the way he took over. But I think there might be, like, people that take for, like, a year or 2 years or a cartoon film or something. I don't think they could have the career.
Put it this way, like, I think, like, when I have kids and stuff, I mean, there's people showing their kids Batman, a lot of people are going to go for the animated series. Like, that's the first thing they're going to go with. Do you know what I mean? So that is a lot of people's first introduction to the character, so it's a big deal.
No, it's going to be ways for a long time. But that was a shock. Like, especially when I saw when it was Jared's, I was like, oh, he's just taking a shot to DC.
Yeah, so there you go, folks. If you're upset or angry about Conroy not being with us anymore,
donate to cancer
research. Yeah, good news.
I was more...
donate to cancer research and then insult Jared on Twitter. There you go.
Aye, go to Jared.
That'll be cathartic. So that was the only piece of news we had. I know it's a bit kind of depressing to start the show with, but I feel like we had to talk about it because it's a big deal. It's probably the biggest loss in the comic book industry since Stan Lee. Like, it's probably the next kind of most significant thing. So that's
I seen a real sad meme the other day that I don't know if it actually holds up or not.
Uh-huh.
But I seen a meme just talking about Stan Lee that said that because Deadpool is the only character in Marvel that breaks the fourth wall.
Yeah.
He's the only one who actually knows that Stan Lee's dead.
That's messed up.
And none of the other characters know, and he just has to keep pretending like he's not.
Oh, that's dark. That makes Deadpool even more twisted. Wow.
I seen that and I was like, oh my god. I was like, Jesus Christ.
So sorry for a fictional character.
And it just showed you, like, it was like a drawing of, like, Deadpool like sitting with like his head and his hands like holding like a Polaroid of like him with Stan Lee, and you were like, whoa.
That's
like it was so dark. I was like,
that's
Jesus
depressing.
Christ.
The fact that he knows and no telling everybody. Oh fuck. That's
On that note, if you're still with us, if you've not been to, I don't know, fling a toaster in the bath or something, we're going to move on to what you've been watching and try and share this thing up a bit. We just seen the menu, and we're going to go into more on an episode of Reconsideration. But Courtney, what did you think of the menu?
I thought it was actually phenomenal.
See, before that, I was hyped. I was more hyped. One of these movies that I was looking forward to, but I was more hyped to take you to see your reaction, because I'd heard, I think it was Jeremy Jans said that if you're like a foodie, if you're into food and you like a good thriller, this is like the perfect movie for you. And that's a pretty good summary. Like,
yeah.
When I heard that, I was like, that's bang up your street.
Yeah,
so.
That pretty much sums me up as a person.
I'm going to go and grab another can, but what did you like about it?
So first of all, like the performances were just absolutely solid. Like Ray Fiennes alone for this film, never mind the great acting that comes for the supporting cast, but Ray Fiennes just has such a presence in this movie. I mean, I genuinely feel like he could have went through the full film without saying a single word, and you would have still got the same feel from him for it. Like, he was brilliant. Anya Taylor-Joy also really, really good. I mean, she always gives a solid performance. There's something about her, and I'm not sure what it is, and I feel like it's quite unjustified, but she does kind of annoy me a wee bit.
Is it as a person, or is it in her acting?
I think it's both.
character assassination here.
Like, no, I am being unfair, and like I will be the first person to admit that, because she is good.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I think it's just certain facial expressions that she tends to pull, but she pulls them a lot, and not all of them are in context. And I don't know. She's a beautiful girl, and she does do a good performance. So I feel really unjustified saying that, and I know that it is just in my own head that she kind of annoys me. But no, and Nicholas Hoult. I mean, like, kind of spoilers, but he is a fucking arsehole in this.
Was he?
Yeah, he was such a sycophant, like, but in the same breath, there was, like, certain situations quite near the start of the film where I was kind of like, yeah, that's me.
Oh, yeah. I was Anya Taylor-Joy character that wasn't arsed.
Okay.
And you with the obsessive.
No problem.
Mate, see the bit when they're on the boat and she goes to reach for the food and she's like slapping her hand to
yes, I agree with you on
that. Is you.
But he does turn around and tell her, shut up, I'm paying for this. When have I ever done that to you?
Not yet.
Not yet. It can come to you. Yeah.
Is it like I just googled it there? Is it a comedy? Like,
it's very tongue in cheek.
All right, okay.
There's very silly aspects to it, and it just leans into it like perfectly. I thought it was.
I would say, like, we'll obviously got it more on for consideration, but like Barbarian, I would say it's a film you're better going into and not knowing anything about it.
Yeah,
like,
totally.
It's about food, and there's a bit of a twist on it that is kind of like more of a thriller, but other than that, I would just go in with that knowledge.
It is also very funny.
Other than what's in the trailer, but yeah, it's got its moments of like pure darkness and like humour, and
it's a perfect balance. I think it was I would almost call it a perfect movie.
It's
really good.
Seeing like I always thought Ray Fiennes was always the guy that was very selective. Like, is it like one of those movies that it's like perfect selection for him? Like, he's always like a theatre guy. Like, he wants to do theatre.
It's his movie, and like I don't know if it was written for him, but it was one of the roles I feel like it was written for him.
Yeah,
like I don't see
no one
else
that could
doing that and pulling
it
off and commanding the scenes as well as he did. I think that was specifically written for him. I think,
and if it wasn't,
the impression I get,
then that's phenomenal casting. Like, if they didn't write this film and go, Ray Fiennes is who has to play this character, then just casting him by chance was the biggest stroke of luck in the world.
Now that I'm thinking about it, the only other person that can maybe do something like it would be J.K. Simmons. But as much as I love J.K., he's a bit too aggressive all the time.
Yeah, there was softer moments
Ray Fiennes, which it makes when he gets aggressive even more like
shit.
Because, you know, he's kind of quite docile at some points. And then it just kind of... And there's also a kind of darkness to, like... You've not seen Schindler's List. It kind of reminds me of his performance a wee bit in Schindler's List.
Oh, okay.
How there's a sort of...
Oh, wow.
It's almost as if he's being kind while he's doing something horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess he probably done that as Voldemort as well. I've not really seen many Harry Potter movies, but I assume he brings a lot of that to Voldemort. So he's incredible. He's some actor.
He's not. He's nowhere near as warm as Voldemort at any point, really.
Yeah.
As he is in this.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's a real warmth to him, which also,
because
there is that warmth, that makes you more uneasy. I think.
And he also, even though he keeps saying things like "I've lost my love for cooking," you can tell he loves just performing. Like he loves just commanding the room and having an audience. And I don't know, he's great. He's really good.
Brilliant.
And it could be. I as a total psychopath. But you mentioned, and that's the other thing as well. Like, okay, obviously it's an extreme example, right? Without giving it away, it's an extreme example. But you do get chefs who have insane egos,
Absolutely,
really big egos. Like look at people like Gordon Ramsay and shit.
Absolutely,
yeah. And it's just that. Like,
and the ego
10.
sometimes takes away from their cooking, which I think, again, not giving too much
point.
away. That's the whole point of this film.
Yeah,
it's
great.
Outstanding.
And also it kind of honors the cuisine world and also slags it off
totally
at the same time. Like it kind of speaks about the respect you need to have for food and the ingredients and where it all comes from, and it's really like passionate about that side of things. But it also takes a piss out of critics, out of chefs that are up themselves, out of overpriced foods,
influencers.
It does both. Like it both kind of shows you the passion and shit and the genius that goes into it, but also slags off the stuff around it.
It's very humbling, and I would probably say it's one of the best films I've seen this year.
It's bang up your street, yeah. It was really good. I really liked it.
Wow. That's quite the end of the year. Like, what has actually come out this year that is like in the top? What would you say compares to?
We'll do a whole episode, but I've got a few, man. I loved for me. It's been a big year for horror. Like I love Peril. I love X was this year. I loved Barbarian. I loved Watcher. I love Scream. Like it's been a great year for horror.
For me, it's been a full Ray Fiennes year, by the way, because probably my next favourite film would be The Forgiven.
That was great as well.
Which was him and Jessica Chastain.
Yeah.
And that was outstanding. That would definitely be in my top 5 for this year.
There's been a lot. We'll do a whole episode on this like we did last year, but
best of the year.
Aye, but there's been a lot of great stuff this year.
Yeah, there is.
And we're probably not. What about you, Chris? Have you seen it this year?
This year, no.
Not seen anything this year.
No.
I can't really. It's mostly TV shows I've been watching, really.
Yeah.
No, but I'm definitely got the Barbarian is definitely on my list from chat.
Oh, did you see that?
I've not seen it, no, but I've been told not to look at anything, so
don't look at anything.
It's really good.
I think it's on like streaming, is it? No, is it something?
It's on streaming now. Yeah.
So I'm gonna definitely. I might not watch it tonight, but I'm definitely going to watch it at some point.
Watch it when you have time to watch something happy after.
Oh, really?
It's
quite
intense.
Go to bed.
It's quite intense.
Jeez.
But in the best way.
It's watch it and then have like a wee Disney Channel session or something, and then you can go to bed.
That's it. Because I did see it. Is it Justin Long? I looked at the IMDb and I was yeah, anything. I remember him in like Jeepers Creepers, and I was like, all right, okay, if he's in it, there's going to be something very weird in it. So
that's right.
I think he's in Tusk as well. It's so weird films he's in, so he's got something weird's going to happen in this Barbarian film. So
that's good.
I'm excited.
Chris, what have you been watching, playing? Reading?
Do you know? Have you ever watched this? It was an old BBC show. It was called "This Is Going to Hurt."
I've not watched it, but I've read the book.
Oh, it's by Adam Kay. Like he's a doctor.
Yes.
Oh, it's absolute. It's Ben Whishaw, the guy who played.
Yeah. I canned that book in 2 days.
That
Ben
was. I can't believe you read the book in 2 days. I can't even read a book in a month. Like
I literally could not put it down. And I found it hilarious.
It's one of those shows that you're like, oh my god, how bad.
I've heard the show is quite dark though.
Oh yeah, it's extremely dark. Yeah.
So the book is hilariously funny. The book is actually laugh out loud, almost crying style funny. There's dark moments in it, don't get me wrong, but primarily the book is very funny.
I think there's more of that in the show from what I've seen of it on like Gogglebox and stuff.
But yeah, I've heard the show's really quite dark.
It's really good. It shows like a story of a guy that is just like been broken from like an workable system.
Yeah.
And he's trying to
Yeah,
do
pretty
good.
much.
He's trying to do really good, and he's just had it, and he's just so sarcastic. It's amazing.
Welcome to the NHS.
I know it's scary, like how, like if but it actually does a really good benefit of like the private care sector. Like there's an incident in it where he's like basically a doctor that gives birth. I don't know. I don't know the term of it, but he's like a doctor that delivers babies.
Like a midwife.
Midwife, yeah.
Yeah.
But like it was apparently like at one part in his life he went to work for the private sector to get more money.
Yeah.
And basically they realised that the private sector isn't up to the standard that NHS is.
No, it's not.
Yeah, is it not the case that in that part of the show they don't have the right medicine to give the mother or to give the baby?
And
it's like...
And they have to go to his usual hospital where he does his scut to get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was an eye-opener for me. I was like, oh, fuck.
When this book kind of... I don't know if it was when it came out or when it got popular or whatever the kind of case was. It was just before I got it. And I got it while I worked in NHS 24.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people that worked in NHS 24 with me went, this gives the best insight into the horrible lives that we have.
Mm-hmm.
They were like, it shows the good bits, because there was quite a lot of ex-midwives that worked with me in NHS 24. And they were like, it shows you the nice, the funny, the good, but it also shows you how horrific it can be at the same time.
Yeah.
And they were like, nothing has ever shone as good of a light on our lives as this book does.
No, it's one of the ones like it deals with if you've read the book it won't be it deals with suicide. I don't know if the book does that, like the kind of junior doctor in the team.
Yeah.
She's just had enough, or like just the way I think it's just like the whole emotional part of the job just gets on top of her, and it just
absolutely
she pushes it to like, I don't know what she does, but you don't know how she died, but she just died.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was by whatever, but that was a shocking element, and I think it goes into forward like I think like over 100 doctors commit suicide over the whole year from the NHS.
Oh yeah, NHS staff and taxi drivers. That's the two vocations that have the highest suicide rates.
Surely the army must be up there.
Well, yeah, but in terms of like normal everyday vocations, those two are the two highest.
Wow, that was a whole eye opener of like, all right, when I like have stress at my job or anything I do, I'm like, all right, okay, that's nothing compared to what these guys are going. like they have to fucking deliver people or like help somebody that's dying. Like it's like, oh god.
It's so hard. But no, I'm dying to watch the show though because I love the book so much.
It's really good. It's really
and then Adam Kay comes and he does talks and things now too.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like to go see him because one of the women I worked with in NHS 24, he came. I can't remember if it was Edinburgh or Glasgow, but he came to either or, and done a show and like he'd done like it's kind of almost like stand up, but it's like a talk.
Mm-hmm.
And she said that she was in tears. Like there were several people who had to get up to go pee before they actually wet themselves because he's that funny.
So did he? Because in the show he's talking about leaving, and then he returns to the NHS. Is he no longer a doctor anymore?
No, he's not a doctor anymore.
I think to be in NHS you can't have
something like this out and still work in the NHS.
You can't criticise it that bad, and yeah.
Like you can't share any sort of stories or anything and work for the NHS.
Wow, right, God. Well, it's been successful, you know. Like going all those years.
Oh yeah, I mean he doesn't need to be a doctor anymore. Like
he's made a career off it.
He's all good.
It's a massive risk though. Like you've spent all those years for med school and stuff, and then
I know
you're like bye bye.
But here, like it's a lesson to be learned. Like everybody should choose joy. Like there's there's no job in the world at all that is worth your life. So as soon as you start kind of having those ideas and those kind of thoughts, just leave, man.
Mm-hmm.
Just leave. Go be a cleaner and live a happier life. Like nothing is worth that.
No, nothing's worth the stress of like going insane or going ill.
No, exactly. There's absolutely no point in working yourself to the point of making yourself not well.
Aye, because at the end of the day, nobody when you saw the show, even like the big head person didn't really give a crap that he was almost had like 48-hour shifts and he was like almost sleeping. You're like, all
It
right,
happens
these
to
people don't care.
everyone. Like, everyone starts working in the NHS with all these good intentions, and then it just beats you down so bad that you just end up becoming numb to it. Like, it happens just totally subconsciously to people as well. Like, you wouldn't even notice. And then you kind of turn around and you go, oh, wait a minute, this isn't why I started doing this.
Yeah, it's like it just piles on. I mean, it's like I'm guessing. How long have you worked? Like you've not left NHS, haven't you?
No, I still work for the
Still,
NHS.
but like
Yeah.
how long have you worked there now?
In my current job or for the NHS?
Just for in total.
For the NHS, I've worked for them since
I started in 2015 and you started
2018.
2018, I think.
Yeah.
4 years.
Yeah.
Still not. You're still in the happy period. You've
No,
kind of went to
I
the
mean, I
Adam
love
K.
my job now, but that's why I left my last job, was because it just didn't feel worth it. Like, I loved the team, I loved the people that I worked with, but the job itself just didn't feel worth it. And now I'm in this new job and I absolutely love it.
Well,
this isn't very pop culture, so let's swipe
Yeah,
that round.
let's move.
yeah, I know we went to something pure weird there. But the other thing I'll just quickly say this was Star Wars Andor. I watched the first episode of
we've
that.
still not seen all of
No,
that.
we've still not watched it. How is it, Chris? I heard it's great.
I've only watched the first episode of it. I was really expecting more, man. like
Really?
see when me and you were talking about it and thinking it's going to be a crime thriller and that's going to be like Zodiac but in space. We really hyped it up, man. Like
That sounds exciting. This is not what I'm expecting.
Does it not get really good though? Like maybe episode 4 or 5?
I don't know. I've only watched the one episode, but yeah, it probably will.
See, that always bugs me. Like when shows take to the 5th episode to get any sort of good. Like,
I'm okay with like that. It's when people say like the third series is good. I'm like watching 2 series.
Okay. Nah, if you don't grab me within like the first 2 episodes, I'm kind of done.
I don't know. I'm looking forward to Andor. I want to check it out.
It's one of those shows like you want to get into it. Like it's a Star Wars show. I'm like, yeah, I want to get it. It's got so much good casting. It's got Skarsgårds. I don't
Apparently
know. But...
What one? What's Skarsgård?
The dad.
Stellan.
Oh, okay.
I think episode 9 has got Andy Serkis in it, and apparently that's an incredible episode. So, like I've heard that that's like one of the best episodes of TV for the last like few years. Apparently, I'm sure it's episode 9. Apparently, that's might be really good. So.
Well, I just made a really stupid. Like I was going to say, you've watched the sequels series, haven't you?
Yeah.
So like he could potentially, I've not watched it or anything, but that could be like the beginnings of Snoke.
There's some bullshit fan theory I think that's connected it, but I don't think he's meant to be in the show. But there is a fan theory that's like.
I did see a screenshot. It looks just like Andy Serkis. He's not even shaved or anything. It's his face.
No,
he's just walked in. It just said, "I like let me put me in Star Wars." Like, don't.
Oh, Andy Serkis, man! I put him in everything. He's quality.
Yeah, I like him.
He's one of the guys that can do everything. Like he's directing and everything. It's like, well, fuck his superpower. Fuck.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. Right, so I was just going to go through some of the stuff I've been playing for Fandom Wire, because there's been quite a lot. So, a game called Stray, where you play as a cat.
Oh yeah, is that not amazing? I played the demo for it. Is it not great?
So, I played it because we got it for review, right? And I was kind of so
heavy shite. It's fucking terrible. I just know that by the tone of his voice.
Just do it. So
here comes the slate.
The reason I played it right was because the Game of the Year nominations came out at the start of this week, and it got nominated for Game of the Year. And not that the Game of the Year awards, it's like the Oscars. I don't know how much stock you put in award shows, right? But because there's great games that get ignored, and there's games that aren't great that get nominated, whatever. But
same with Oscars.
Yeah, exactly. But this was an indie game. It was made by a small studio and published by Annapurna. So the fact that an indie game, when an indie game gets a Game of the Year nomination, it always grabs my interest because I'm always like, well, there must be something here. Now, you said you played the demo, Chrissy. I take it that's like maybe an hour, like half an hour.
It's like you're in the city or something like that. And
so
kind of the neon part.
The game itself, it is short. It's only like 4 hours long, right? But see, after the first wee bit, the first 40 minutes, the novelty of playing as a cat wears off fast.
It's very cute to start with.
Yes, it is.
Yous aren't cat people though. Yous aren't dog people.
Yeah, I'm not a cat person.
It needs to go with dog
Cats
people,
are
cat
dicks.
people.
It's a cute cat, right? And you're like, oh, it's a cute cat, and you can do things like you can push stuff off a shelf for no other reason other than the fact you're a cat.
See, cats are dicks.
And whatever, right? But then they introduce this robot that's on your back, and then Hit's talking to the other robots in the city, and it's people are asking a cat to go and find out music sheets, and it's like, it's a cat. What are you expecting here? And they try and do this like emotional connection between the robot and the cat. Do you know what? Spoilers, right? The game's been out for ages, right? So spoilers. See, at the end, the robot dies, right? The robot thing dies, and it tries to have this like emotional moment with the cat, and it's like I don't know what it says, right? But it's like, I miss you, cat. And then the camera cuts to the cat, and the cat's just staring back at it because guess what? It's a fucking cat. Like, the cat doesn't know what's going on. And the game's like, oh, that's sad. And I'm like, no, it's a cat. Like, the cat doesn't know any better. It's just staring at a hunk of junk that's lying. Like, what? The cat doesn't give a shit. And the game's like, oh, look at this emotional connection to this inanimate object and this cat. And you're like, what?
And the cat wouldn't care anyway, because you know why? Cats are dicks.
But
Cat's probably disappointed because he can't eat it. Like, it's metal. He's like,
there's a disconnect. Do you know what I mean? Like, between the game trying to make you care and the fact you're playing as a cat. And I think the fact you're playing as a cat, as much as it's a novelty and it feels unique for the first maybe hour, even be generous and say for the first hour of the game. See, after that, it feels limiting, like not having opposable thumbs and not being able to like fire a gun or I don't know, like do anything. Like, it's so limiting, and you're like, this is just a. I don't know.
Suppose you're in the Modern Warfare 2 mode there. Fire a gun, you're a fucking cat.
Unless there's somebody that you can kill in the game.
It can't even do a loot drop. Yeah, I don't know. It's fine. It's not a bad game. I think I ended up scoring at a 4 or a 5. It's just so overrated. Like, it's so overrated.
But it's good that if it's. I mean, is it in? Do you know what else is in the kind of awards for it? Is it like, did it win? Or did it?
No, it's not been announced yet. It's in December. Elden Ring's on there. God of War's on there. A lot of the ones that are on there are like big titles. So the fact that it's been nominated alongside them is a big deal.
I mean, I don't think it's going to touch God of War because I've seen some of that, and that's going to be pretty good. I've actually not had to play. I've not had a chance to play God of War yet because I've been playing all these other games. But there is a review on it. There's a review for it on Fandom Wire, but I didn't write it. But yeah. You're not plugging that. You're like, it's on there, but it's not mine. So.
No, go read that. Looks a good review. Give him a shout out. Go read that. Another thing that I reviewed and didn't like, not I didn't like, but I found disappointing.
So you didn't like it?
Well, I gave it a 5. No,
you give it more than Stray? What?
I think I scored them the same.
No,
I think I scored them the same. I'll tell you, right, but I'm going to keep going. So, the Dark Pictures anthology, which is the guys that made Until Dawn, and then they went on to do The Quarry and this series, The Dark Pictures. This is the 4th entry. So there was Mar of Medan, House of Ashes, Little Hope, and then this one, The Devil in Me. And this one should have been the best because it was... a 4 I gave it. It was...
It's generous.
It was the finale of season 1, as they call it. Like, this is the first season, these 4 games. So the fact it was the finale, and the fact that it was based on a real life serial killer, H.H. Holmes. Like, all the other games have been based on like supernatural shit. Like, the first one was like zombies, but it turns out they were hallucinating. And then the second one they were hallucinating again. And the third one was vampires. So like, there's always been like supernatural stuff. And then this one, it was like, no, we're doing a real serial killer. So I was like, that sounds cool. And it's... My God, it's not. I gave Stray a 4 as well. I gave them both a 4. I didn't live up to the hype, and my God, like, see the intro. It's one of the worst intros I've played in maybe any game ever. Like, so.
And everyone talks like a robot.
So, well, a big thing, right, with this studio was Supermassive. They had the backing of Sony for a number of years. Until Dawn, like the reason that's got people like Rami Malek and Hayden Panettiere, and the reason that it looks as good as it does. By the way, Until Dawn looks probably better than this game, and Until Dawn's 7 years old.
Million times.
Do you know what I mean? Like
this video game looked awful.
But the worst, so you get introduced to the 5 main kind of core cast members, like 40 minutes into the game, right? But see the intro sequence, you play these 2 characters back in H.H. Holmes' day, and they've not been modelled well at all. Like, you can really, so I was saying about the Sony thing, so Sony funded Until Dawn, and then Sony funded, they did a VR game called Alpha Team or some generic shit like that, and it tanked, like the VR game absolutely tanked, and then Sony pulled out, and then they went independent, and now they're with Bandai Namco. That's who published these games. You can tell that the Sony money's not there anymore. Like, she just looked at the game.
That evident? Oh.
Yeah, they're missing that Sony money, and it just seems more, I don't know, it's sad, it seems more amateur. Like, it doesn't seem as AAA as before. The intro, like, another thing I hate with these games, I've played the other, however many there's been, right, or 2, 3, whatever. I know the controls. Like, I've played Until Dawn, I've played Man of Medan, I've played all these games, and yet it's still like, press R2 to lift this object, move the right stick to look at the object, press the left stick to, and you're like, mate, this is the 6th time I've played this shit. Like, I know what I'm doing. Like, really, there should be a thing in the game already that reads your save files, and if it detects a save file from another game, it automatically skips it. Or if you can't do that, if that's too much programming, give us the option. Just give us the option to skip it.
Oh, it doesn't give you an option.
No, it makes you sit through all this shit and do it all, and it's so slow, and it pure kills any hype that you have going in. It's like, Jesus, I'm bored here. Like, what is going on? And the characters are unlikable, and the animations and the models aren't great.
Yeah, because I mean, you opened up this game and you started playing it, and I went, wait a minute, is this the new one? And you're like, yeah. I was like, this looks about 10 years old.
It does. It doesn't look good at all. And they've also lost a lot of the atmosphere. Like the Until Dawn game, and even like the Man of Medan and stuff. I feel like even though the games weren't really that scary, there was a tone and an atmosphere that was kind of creepy. At least this game loses that. This game's more focused on it. They try to give you more to do, so you can now, instead of having a fixed camera, you can move the camera, which I think they did in the last game as well. That what was it called, House of Ashes? But you can like move things to like climb, so you can like move a bin in front of a fence and then climb the fence. You can like, if something's chasing you, you can like jump out a window and stuff. So it tries to add a bit more movement, but it feels. This is a studio that obviously doesn't have any practice with that, so it all feels pure stiff and janky, and it looks stiff. It's not like, I don't know.
There's no flow to it.
Yeah, there's no flow to it, and it just, I don't know. They should stick to what they're good at, like cinematic set pieces, and trying to do this other stuff on what seems like a tighter budget just didn't work for them. But hey, so that was another disappointing time. But I've been having a better time since then. Call of Duty Warzone 2 dropped. Now, the first night we played that, you were sitting and you were kind of paying attention to the fact that I was on that thing for 3 years, and I think I got about 20 minutes of gameplay. Like, the other 2.5 hours was spent just trying to find the game. It was a nightmare.
Oh, really? The servers are bad?
Yeah, the connection issues are... I mean,
wow.
Call of Duty, you need to remember, Warzone is one of the biggest online games in the world. You need to remember the scale. There was millions of people trying to play it, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, yeah, they're a big studio. They've got the money. Activision are huge. Like, they should have server farms already for it. I will say, about 5 hours after it launched, whenever I went back on it, say like 9:45 or something that night, I launched about 6 o'clock. We got on right away. We got on no bother. And see, since then, it's been fine. So they did fix it pretty quickly, but for that first sort of period, it was a nightmare. But it's good. It is quite overwhelmingly different. Like, even for somebody that's played a lot of the original Warzone, like how it just the process of picking stuff up and the type of kills different. It feels like a slower game. Like, you can't just run in and spam your pistol the way you could before. Like, you have to kind of pick your shots. You have to kind of be a bit more tactical about it, and it's good, but it's also more tense. Like, I was doing duos last night with just me and Robbo, and like 4v4, obviously, like quads is pure intense. Like, you're constantly in fights. You land, you're in a fight, and then if you win that fight, you know, you go to loot a building and then you're in another fight, and it's just constant. Whereas duos was way more like secluded. So like, me and Robbo landed in this building and we looted it, and we were there for about, I don't know, 10 minutes. Just kind of looting and planting mines and stuff, and then we saw another team coming, so we like we pincered them. Like we shot one for a distance, and then there was one left in the building, and he went in the front, I went in the back. We took him out, and it's pure tense. And then the next building we were in, we were just looking, and there was somebody in the building with us, and it was a lot of like, oh, shit, we'll try to listen for footsteps, and they were like on the floor above us, and try to like. They knew we were there, we knew that they were there, and it's a really kind of it's almost like a horror game at points. Like it's pure tense. But it's good. I'm enjoying it so far. There's a review for that on Fandom Wire as well. I'll link all these below in the description for all these games. Two that I've been playing.
Is it a battle royale with the new COD?
It's a battle royale. Yeah.
Is it? Oh, right. Okay. Just the way you were talking. Was it? Oh, fuck.
Yeah. Warzone 2 is a battle royale. Yeah. I mean, they also reviewed like the normal multiplayer for Modern Warfare 2, which is also again I'll link that below. But this is specifically Warzone, which launched this week. So two reviews that I'll be coming out with this coming week are for a game called Evil West, which drops tomorrow at the time of recording, or drops on Tuesday. My review will drop tomorrow, I think, something like that. Evil West is great. Evil West. Have you ever wanted to play as a badass guy in the Old West that can uppercut a vampire and then shoot him in the air while he's like dying? This game lets you do that. It's quality. So you've got like a big spiky fist on your right hand, and you've got a lightning fist on your left hand, so you can just brutalise these vampires with your fists. You've also got like a rifle and a pistol. And
you came away from this game in such a good mood.
It's great. It's so good. This is my kind of game. It feels. Do you know what it feels like? It feels like. See, when you think back to the old PS2 games, and in your mind they're really good, and then you play them and they're kind of shit. This is that, but it's actually the good version that you've got in your head. Like it's very much following those sort of same sensibilities of the old PS2 games. Like it's fun, it's silly, it's over the top, it looks good, not in a realistic way, but it's got a cool art direction to it. It's quite graphic novel-y, comic booky. It's really good. Really enjoying that.
It actually looks really. It looks. I'm just looking at images on Google. It actually looks really good. It looks like red. I was going to say it kind of looks like I was going to say Count. Oh, I can't remember the name, but it was like a kind of game from Xbox, and it was like a kind of space game, but it's totally different.
It's sort of filling that gap for me. Remember with Red Dead 1, we then got Undead Nightmare, and then we didn't get Undead Nightmare for Red Dead 2.
Right.
It's sort of filling, it's scratching that itch. Do you know what I mean? It's supernatural, like vampires and werewolves and shit, and it's just kind of scratching that itch. Do you know what it's like? It's a lot like Until Dawn. Like, see the movie? No, not Until Dawn. From Dusk Till Dawn. With Tarantino and George Clooney. Like, it's that sort of vibe. Like, obviously it's the Old West, but it's sort of tongue-in-cheek, over-the-top, killing vampires, lots of violence. You know, it's very from Dusk Till Dawn. It's very Robert Rodriguez, Tarantino, that sort of thing. Bags of style. It looks good. It's fun. It feels good to play. It's good flow to it. So... Spoilers, my review for that's going to be pretty positive, but it's not out yet.
Makes a change.
Yeah, it does. It's nice when I'm buzzing. And what is nice is I feel like I'm on a wee kick now of good games because I got another game called Gungrave, which again, if you're going to talk about a PS2 game, which for the modern era, which is totally ridiculous and over the top, Gungrave was a game, you've never heard of this, have you?
Nope.
Gungrave was a game on PS2 where you played as this like 8-foot guy with like long hair and two pistols, and he carried a coffin on his back.
Very anime.
And the coffin would fire like rockets.
Of course.
And shit. It was like when you were like 12, 13, this was the coolest thing ever. And also when you're 27 years old, it's the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
Because they've made a new one. They've made a new one called Gungrave Gore.
That just sums you up, man.
Sometimes that will change. It is somewhat a sequel and it's also somewhat a reboot. It's sort of you don't even play the old ones to play this, but it's also sort of following on for the old ones. I think they like revive him at the start of the game because he died at the end of the last one. I don't know. Who cares? Like, who gives a shit about the actual story? You're carrying a coffin in your bag that you can blow guys up with, like a rocket launcher. Like, who cares about the story? Yeah, it's funny how that Evil West are coming out. I think they're coming out on the same day or a day apart because they are similar. Both third person, over the top. Kind of extreme, silly action games, but you know what? Both of them look great. Both of them feel great. Both of them are fun. That's all I really want in a game. Like, it doesn't. I know it needs to be The Last of Us. Like, see if something's just fun and you can blow shit up and it feels good to play. I'm fine with that. Like, that's all I need. I'm a man of simple pleasures, even though people say I'm hard to please. Yeah. So again, the Gungrave review that'll be coming this week, and I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about this, but I think I can say that I'm getting it. I'm getting the Callisto Protocol to play.
No, I was actually going to say that. Are you? Oh, you bastard!
I think I'm getting it either tomorrow or Tuesday.
No.
That's not out
man.
until start of December, so I'm getting a good week for that. And I've also sort of cleared my schedule. See, I did have reviews lined up for this week after. I think it's Evil West tomorrow, Gungrave Tuesday, and then I did have other shit lined up. I'm just patching it. I'm just going to play Callisto Protocol and properly get in depth with it and get a real feel for it before it comes out, before I write my review.
That's a real hard job you've got there.
It is, isn't it? Playing all these free games, it's a lot, man. It's tough. It's hard being me, but hey, I manage it. Right, I've spoke for ages about what we've been playing. We've started to do the topic. Shall we move on?
Oh, because I don't watch anything.
Oh, you spoke about...
No, carry on.
You spoke about the menu. Courtney, what have you been watching this week?
No.
You'd like to talk about? No. You go? I'm trying not to keep you too late for your bed, but if you want to go, tell us.
No, so mine was just pure girly things, to be fair, so probably not anything that anyone's going to be interested in.
Hey, you might widen the audience a bit.
But, so this has been out for a while, but I was off my work and bored out my skull. So I managed to get through quite a bit of my kind of backlog of like just things that are going to cheer me up, because I needed just a bit of cheering up. And so I watched, it's the Dolly Parton TV show on Netflix called Heartstrings. And so it's 8 episodes and it takes 8 of our songs and it's all... Each are a different story, and it's a story based on those songs, because as we know, Dolly Parton tells a lot of stories through her music. So, do you know, it was actually really decent. I really enjoyed myself watching it. I mean, don't get me wrong, some of it was a lot darker than I went in expecting. Like, there's loads of things that get covered, like miscarriages, and like, there's one where the dog dies and stuff. So, like, not all of it was happy, cheery, let's go party, like 2 doors down and all that, but it was really good.
Every night I came in, you were crying watching it. Like, for work, I was like crying the
Yeah, because some of it was real sad. But no, it was a real good time. You had some pretty decent cast members throughout it as well, like Julianne Hough and stuff. Like, she plays Jolene, and it was just...
Oh, Jolene.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the first episode, and that.
So does it explain why she wrote that song? Because she's tried to.
So you kind of know. So Dolly has spoken about why she wrote that song, because there was a girl who worked in her local bank.
You've seen Dolly, right?
Yeah, I've seen her live. She was phenomenal. She is the queen.
Yeah.
And whenever you go see Dolly, she does tell stories throughout the show. Like, it's not just going and watching somebody sing. Like, she really tries to connect with her audiences, and. So the reason she wrote Jolene was there was a girl in her bank, her local bank where she lives, called Jolene, who, when her husband was in the bank just doing whatever you do, was like flirting with her husband, and then she was like, nah mate, like, you're stunning, don't even try and flirt with him, because that's like actual not cool. So this basically, it's not the exact story, so the episodes aren't the exact stories that she's wrote them for. But they are stories that fit the songs. So, like, there's an episode for, like, 2 Doors Down, and she's in, I want to say, maybe all of them, but at least a good, like, 6 out of the 8 of them, she's definitely in them. And so for 2 Doors Down, it's one that really challenges the whole, like, Southern American culture against people being gay. So it challenges homosexuality and homophobia, and it really goes quite in depth with it. But then it's brilliant acting, and you've got, like, it's still a really, really good episode. And then, just to kind of top it all off from it being a great episode, you've got Dolly coming in at the end of the episode singing 2 Doors Down, which is what you want for TV, I think. So no, I had a really good time with that show. I kind of hope they explore, like, maybe even if they just do 2 seasons of it, and if they do like another season with another 8, I would definitely watch it. I had a really good time. And then also, while I've been off, I put up my Christmas decorations. Don't come at me, I'm having a good time.
It's November. What's going on?
But it's good though, because it's fun, and I've only got 1 tree left to put up, and Daniel came home from his work on like Monday and was like, wait a minute, what has happened in here, because Christmas just threw up.
It gets it out the road, and it means I don't need to worry about it.
He's not had to touch a single thing. Like, I done it all myself.
Fine with me.
But while I was watching that, I watched, I don't know if anybody's aware of it, but I was kind of here for it because I like her. Lindsay Lohan's new Christmas film.
Yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
she's back, is she?
Wow, she is back.
With her power or
And
back?
she's back. Like,
Wow.
don't get me wrong, it was cheesy, absolute garbage. Like, it's not what you would call a good film. But I'm your kind of gal that loves a cheesy Hallmark Christmas film.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what this is. I mean, you've got Lindsay Lohan trying to act like she's of normal body and mind. And then you've got Cord Overstreet from Glee as like the love interest in this, and it's full of cheesy acting, and it's so sugar coated, sugar plum fairy candy cane nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
But do you know what? It helped me get my Christmas tree up. I had a good laugh at it. It's not well acted. It's not going to win any sort of awards. But it was fun.
But it was what it had to be.
And and it was nice. And it's, for me, it's what you look for in just a daytime television Christmas movie. That, I mean, there's a market for them, so fire away, Lindsay Lohan. Like, I'm here for it.
There's a whole channel on like Sky. It's just Christmas movies. Like,
and that's the best channel at any time of year.
I know, it's any time of year you can watch it.
Any time of year. If you need that wee dose of Christmas, just click on the Hallmark channel. They'll provide you with it. No, I am your gal for it. Like, I'm Mrs. Christmas. I'm down for everything except mince pies. I don't like to eat them. But other than that, fire it at me. In July, sure, why not? I'm down for it. So yeah, my Christmas tree goes up in November. And that is actually just 2 out of the 3 of them, and I've only got 1 left to put up.
I actually didn't realise Lindsay Lohan is actually relatively young. Like, I always assume like she's like really
you think
old,
she's a lot older.
but she's only in her like mid-30s.
Yeah. Something great that this film managed to get out of her, obviously with Mean Girls, the whole iconic Christmas song is Jingle Bell Rock.
Mm-hmm.
And Lindsay Lohan has recorded her own version of Jingle Bell Rock.
Oh,
that you can listen to.
Nice.
Oh, wow. On all of your good
Christmas number
listening
1.
Did you say?
Do you know, it's not bad. I don't know how auto-tuned it is, but it's not bad. And it's in this film. And it's just fun. I think she's just trying to have a wee bit of a good time. She's had a couple rough few years, so let the gal just put some Christmas bits on.
Since 2004.
Play a bit of pretend.
She's had a rough 15 years.
So I think she deserves to have a wee switch with Cord Overstreet and have fun in a wee snowy lodge and sing her songs and just enjoy the Christmas spirit. They must have recorded in like May. But no, I did. I liked it. It was fun.
Oh, that's good.
Okay, we can carry on.
The way Danny's just, that's good. Right,
this is my life, Christopher.
I can just see him sighing, even though I can't see him. I can just imagine him.
No,
like,
you know.
Oh, God.
Listen, I'm always dead behind it.
Mate, he just sat and spoke about COD, which has been the same game since it actually came out in the first version for a good 15 minutes there. So
since Lindsay Lohan
was
yeah, we're going to move on to topic now. So I think I said at the start of the show, but we're going to do the best ambiguous endings of all time.
That's quite hard to say. Ambiguous.
Ambiguity. Ambiguousness. So we've got a list here, but we're not going to name everyone on the list. But yeah, Chris, have you seen Drive?
I have not. No.
You've not seen Drive?
No. Have you?
You've not seen the Just Like Me movie?
Just Like Me. I think I have seen Just Like Me.
I love Drive, but obviously the memes have kind of killed it. But I love Drive at the time, and you know what? I'll stand by it. I still think it's a great film. It's a bit pretentious, but I love it.
Is it? Is it like he dressed main character?
I can't believe you've not seen Drive. No. So you really don't know much about Ryan Gosling's character. He is this driver working for sort of drug dealers and bank robbers, and he's like a getaway driver basically. Right. And he gets involved romantically with a character played by Carey Mulligan, a neighbour in his flat, and her man has got Oscar Isaac. He's like her boyfriend, and he gets mixed up with the wrong crew, and spoilers, Oscar Isaac gets shot to shit. So Ryan Gosling then has to protect Carey Mulligan and her kid. She's also got a wee. Is it a wee girl or a wee boy? Can't remember. She's got a kid anyway.
Yes, we can. No.
So he sort of becomes this kind of surrogate father, but he's the kind of guy that's never. He's also never had a family. He's never had. Doesn't seem like a partner or any friends. Like he's this weird, isolated criminal, you know. So he's trying to kind of be a bit softer, and also he's doing these obviously brutal things to protect him. You know, it's a really brutal film. There's a scene in a lift where he kisses her because it's probably the last chance he's going to have to kiss her, and then he violently stops a man's head till there's just nothing left, like it's just mush. And there's a lot of scenes like that in the movie. Ron Perlman's in it too. He's great in it. Bryan Cranston's in it, and he's also great. Drive's worth a watch. For me, it's Nicholas Winding Refn's best film. I like Bronson, the one with Tom Hardy, and I also I didn't mind. He's done that one, Miles Teller, Too Old to Die Young. From what I've seen, that's quite cool, but I've not seen all of it. I hated Only God Forgives. Which is
it seems like he likes to work with him. Like he likes to work with Gosling.
He's used Gosling a few times, but for me, Drive is peak Refn, and it's probably maybe my favourite Ryan Gosling performance as well. Because Ryan Gosling, as much as I like the guy, he's a wee bit kind of wooden sometimes, and a bit kind of I don't know. And see that sort of like awkward woodenness, it works perfectly in this movie, like for the character.
The best Ryan Gosling film was for me was when he was playing it with the Gladiator guy. Oh my god, and they were cops.
The Nice Guys.
Nice Guys. That was.
Yeah, that was good.
That was brilliant. That was fabulous. But Drive could be good. What was ambiguous about it?
So at the end of the movie, I feel like I'm kind of giving something away here since you've not seen it, but. He does. I won't go into specifics. He does what he needs to do to get Carey Mulligan and our kids safe. He kind of makes them. Just buggers off.
Sticks him in the boot and drives away.
No, he kills some people, right? And then he gives her like money, and then he drives away, he disappears, and the last shot is him sitting perfectly still for like a long time, and I can't remember if he's been shot or he's been stabbed, but he's in a bad way, and he's sitting perfectly still for a long time, and you think, oh, he's dead, and then he blinks. Just as the movie ends, he blinks once, and you're like, oh, is he still alive? So you don't really know if he's going to...
Since dead people don't blink.
If he's going to drive away. No, but you don't know if he's going to make it to get himself patched up. Shut up! Obviously... Shut up, Courtney. So...
You don't know if he's dead or alive.
You don't know if he's going to make it to, like, a doctor, or if he's going to bleed to death, right? That's the twist. Jesus Christ, right, next one.
Let's go through these quick.
That's just partly it. The Wrestler. Have you seen The Wrestler, Chris?
No.
I have, yeah.
You've seen The Wrestler, Dan Aronofsky's The Wrestler?
I've not seen it.
It's a good movie, but Christ, it's depressing.
Yeah, it's depressing.
My God. Like, do you want to see Mickey Rourke, like, addicted to pills? And
that's really the whole film. He's just, like, drowning. And
then trying to rekindle his broken relationship with his kids.
Oh.
And then, at the end...
Is it not just like a fighting movie now?
No. Oh no, it's dark. He's like at the end of his career, and he's got no money, and I think he's got a heart problem.
Well, in this photo it looks like
which is why, the last shot of the movie, he's up on the turnbuckle, and I think there's a doctor that tells him just before, don't do any big stunts. Like, you know, I think he tells him not to fight at all, but he's like, if you're going to fight, like, don't do it. And then to sort of appease the crowd, they're like, take him out or whatever, the crowd are shouting, so he jumps up on like
You've never been to a wrestling show in your life.
He jumps up to the top turnbuckle, and then in slow motion he jumps off towards the guy, and then the movie ends, so you don't know if he has a heart attack or not.
I mean, look at him. Have you seen Mickey Rourke? Like, have you? That's what made me investigate. This guy is not human. Like, let me see what he used to look like. He is a...
he looks totally different.
I used to be like a proper...
I want my board.
I want my bird.
And my bird. Like, he looked rather handsome when he was younger, and now he just looks like a poached egg. Like
a poached egg?
He does look about a poached egg.
Yeah. He's
that's
just
hard.
Like boiled.
When you live the life that you live, and you get too much sunshine.
That is the best description I think I've ever heard in my life.
Is that what it is? Like the surgery? I thought it was like he was.
Oh, he's had a ton of surgery. Yeah, he's had a ton.
Right, okay.
But do you know what? Everything is as messed up as his face is. See in Sin City, he looks just like Marv from the comic because his face is so messed up. Like, see when he's got the short hair and the fake chin, he's just he's the comic book in real life. Like, perfect. Total Recall was a classic movie.
Oh, that was brilliant.
We peeked behind the curtain. Our first date movie was the Total Recall remake with Colin Farrell.
Yeah, we went
Oh,
to see
what
that
a terrible,
terrible
remake.
No,
Is it good?
Not good movie,
I never watched it. I never had it.
The remake
was the guy.
I can't remember. I was too nervous.
But the original Total Recall is a classic. Paul Verhoeven's.
I don't think I've ever seen the original, and I also cannot remember what the end of the remake is either.
So I don't know if they did this in the remake, but at the end of the movie, so the whole thing about Total Recall is that you get memories implanted. So you go into this machine, and then they ask you, like, what do you want to be? Do you want to be an astronaut? Do you want to be an actor? Do you want to be a rock star? You know, and then they put it in their mind. So the end of the movie, like, he kind of beats this corporation and this arsehole that's in charge, who is Michael Ironside, I'm pretty sure, playing him. The amazing Michael Ironside, who's also Sam Fisher. Is it Ironside? Isn't it? Or is it the guy that looks like Ironside? Because there's another guy that was acting in the 80s that looked a lot like Ironside. It might be him. Anyway, it's one of the discount tickets. It's no Ironside. Is it him? Aye, right, okay.
It's Sharon Stone. I didn't know Sharon Stone was in it. Oh my god.
Sharon Stone's in it? Yeah, because it's Sharon Stone. She's the fake wife, and then when he wakes up, he has a fight with her in the room. And she's like, "What's wrong, honey?" And he has a big fight with her, and he shoots on the head, and then he goes, "Consider that a divorce." Yeah, incredible.
Brilliant dialogue! It's absolutely amazing.
Incredible. Peak Arnie. Yeah. So the end of the movie, because everything goes well and he beats his company and then gets the girl at the end and they escape Mars because it takes place on Mars. Never mentioned that. The thing is, like, was it all in his mind? Was that all our Total Recall simulation? You know, was any of it real, or was it all just? Is he really just a normal guy, and this is all a fantasy? Yeah. So yeah, and let us know in the comments maybe see if you listen to this, and you have, like, thoughts on whether you think Total Recall was all in his head or it was real or whatever. Comment below. Do
you know one thing about Arnold Schwarzenegger? He always dressed really nice in any movie he was in. He always had smart trousers on.
Smartly dressed man.
Like, Total Recall, he wore a lot of flannel shirts in that, remember?
Yeah, he was like very.
He went through a flannel shirt period, though.
I mean, he looks great in a flannel shirt.
Oh, yeah,
I would too if I was Arnold.
I know.
So
fabulous. Yeah.
The next one on this list is American Psycho. Because
see the ending of that was, you don't like, he's kind of lost it. I mean, he's lost it anyway.
So I don't think this is ambiguous, because I feel like the whole point is that this world is so vapid and so self-obsessed. This kind of white collar, Wall Street kind of white collar criminal world. They're also, like, self-image obsessed with their hair and their skin routine and whatever the hell, their suits and their business cards, that when there's an actual murderer cutting about killing people, they don't even notice. Like, that's, to me, is kind of the point of American Psycho.
Yeah.
And I feel like if you introduce the theory that, you know, when he calls to report himself and say that he's admitted to all these crimes, and they're like, "Don't be dumb, shut up, Patrick, go back to your work," kind of thing. I think that, I take that as it's not because it's all in his head or it's a fantasy, but it's because he has been doing this shit and nobody really cares, because it's just the insane world of, like, Wall Street. That's kind of always been the point of American Psycho to me, and that's kind of the commentary that I assumed they were making, like, when Bret Easton Ellis wrote the novel. Also, Bret Easton Ellis is a prick. Like, I've heard that guy in a few podcasts. What an absolute knob. But a great book and a great movie. So, thoughts on American Psycho?
I totally agree with you. I feel like trying to put it down to ambiguity of, oh, did he really do it? That totally takes away the message from that whole film, I think.
Yeah.
I definitely agree. And, I mean, I don't like ambiguous endings anyway, at the best of times. But, nah, trying to say that that's ambiguous, in my opinion, is quite a lot of bullshit.
Yeah.
It's trying to make him out of a molehill, I think.
It's kind of similar when you were saying about the guy when he called in to say he killed him and they didn't believe him. It kind of goes back to the Ed Kemper, like out of Mindhunters. He called in himself and said, "Yeah, I've committed all these crimes," and nobody believed him. So it is like, this is a trait between people. They just don't believe people
And then
have murdered
there's
these
that
people.
serial killer that phoned into Howard Stern.
Yeah, that's right.
As well.
That's right.
And everybody was kind of like, "Oh, this is a funny bit."
And he's still not been.
And he's still not been caught.
When did this happen?
Oh yeah.
This happened in the
90s, late 90s, I think.
Oh my god.
Late 90s, early 90s, yeah.
I'll send you the. It's on YouTube. I'll send you the link.
It's so chilling.
It's creepy.
Knowing that he actually was a real serial killer and stuff is.
Was he just chatting like a normal caller, or like you just saying, "Oh yeah"?
He phoned in to tell Howard Stern,
I'm
a serial killer.
He's talked to Robin and Howard on their show, yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, you're a serial killer? That's hilarious! Like, what do you do?" And he tells them, and then Howard Stern's a bit like, "Wait a minute."
I actually think, like, see me yesterday, I think Howard Stern does a really good job because he doesn't freak out and he doesn't insult the guy, but he also. You can tell he's pretty disgusted, but he's also, I think, trying to keep him on the phone so they can do like a trace. And he handles it. In fact, it's all live on air, and also it's an entertainment show. Like he works it into the show while still not being crass about it, not like exploiting it just for like views or whatever. Like yeah, it's really well done actually.
That's amazing because I think in like the early 90s, Howard Stern was that arsehole that would just go crazy, and the fact that he had that in himself to not go, he realised at that moment, right, this is probably serious.
This is like above me.
Let's not be the stern I usually am, and
yeah,
get the guy talking.
He is kind of like, "Oh, and so what? You just kill these women?" And he's like, "Yeah," and he's like, "And so if you were to like, what's your method? Like, what do you do?" And like, he gets quite a lot of information.
Yeah, he does. He just kind of speaks to him like, yeah, not like a cop and not like somebody that's judging him, but just like asking him questions. And it's interesting.
And you do get a sense of, here, you're talking shite, like, but that's more so to bait the guy into telling him more. You feel?
Yeah, when he bans up, he's doing it. Yeah, for
a
reason. Yeah. Yeah, I'll send you on Catholic, Chris. It's cool.
It's really interesting.
I mean, it's not cool that this person killed all these poor women. That's horrible. But it's an interesting clip to see the mind of somebody like that.
Yeah.
I just want to specify that I don't think it's nice to kill people. Like,
no,
killing is bad.
Yeah, if you never
Hot take
from me again, you know why.
Hot take. I know it's bold to say, but killing is bad. That's how you know I'll say that racist is bad. Like.
One thing from the American Psycho I did learn was to take care of your skin, like a good skin routine. Like
good skin routine is key.
Like yeah, I was like, all right, okay, he seems like he knows what he's talking about.
Chrissy Jameson's in it, actually being confirmed. Chris, Taxi Driver. What's your thoughts on Taxi Driver? Right,
that's a classic.
Is it Scorsese's best? You don't think it's Scorsese's best, Court, do you?
I'm not a huge fan of this.
Your favourite's Goodfellas.
Yeah, Goodfellas is one of my all-time favourite films anyway. But yeah,
I mean,
Taxi Driver.
Me, like you don't see him. He's clearly dead, isn't he? Or
we'll get into the end. We'll get into the end. Taxi Driver for me. Well, no, I think it sort of feeds into it. Like if we speak about the character and stuff. Because Taxi Driver's arguably Scorsese's most introspective movie in terms of like Scorsese's tackled lots of things in his work, like religion and guilt, and like a lot of his things are like very personal. But in Taxi Driver, we're seeing the world through Travis Bickle's eyes via Mark Scorsese, and I don't think we've ever had that for him other than this. Like even Wolf of Wall Street, we're not seeing it from Jordan's perspective. Jordan's telling the audience what happened. Jordan Belfort. We're not seeing it from his whereas Taxi Driver, we are Travis Bickle. When he's driving about in that taxi himself alone in 1970s New York, we are him. You know, we're seeing it through his eyes. Which is why that kind of feeds into this whole like hero fantasy and the whole idea that was it real. There's also, I mean, a huge theme in this movie that I don't think it's been mentioned in this article. Travis is an ex-Vietnam vet, so that's quite a big, interesting look at it. Is it PTSD? You know, is this a guy that went to war and didn't feel like he was heroic enough? and that's why he's come back, and he's doing this dead end job taxi driving in New York, and that's why he feels the need to get involved with Jodie Foster's,
The helper.
pimp and whatever. Like I think what Travis does at the end of the movie, I guess, is good, but the reason he does it and the way he does it isn't the best, because he is. I mean, if you've not seen Taxi Driver, if you're living under a rock, he goes to kill is it a politician, I think, or somebody running for mayor. He goes with the intention of like making a statement and killing like a political figure, and he's got the gun in his pocket and he's ready to do it. And then something happens at the rally, like he sees a cop or something, and he can't get to the guy to shoot him. So he then leaves there. He goes to the brothel, and where Harvey Keitel is, and he shoots the place up and saves Jodie Foster. But I just think it's interesting how he wasn't ever meant to be a hero, and then the end of the movie, when you're seeing this sequence that could be a dream sequence, it's like the papers and the news and the radio and stuff, they're all making out that he's this hero, even though he was going to assassinate, a mayor or whatever. Mm-hmm. So there's also the thing that gets me, that last scene. I actually recently rewatched that last scene because I love the choreography of it. See when he walks into that brothel and like the wrist gun that he's got, and the way that the bullets ping off things, it's so, there's no music, it's just like the ricocheting bullets and the screams of the guys as they're getting shot, and it's so like
gritty,
70s and gritty. Yeah, there's no glamour to it. It's a really messy scene. Like one of the guys, he shoots his fingers off and shoots him in the leg or something, and then ends up in a fight with him in the room, and then he has to like shoot him through the chin right next to Jodie Foster, and she gets covered in his blood. Like it's not like a heroic scene. It's messed up to watch.
Yeah.
And at no point in the scene does Jodie Foster seem grateful for him being there. She doesn't know.
Terrified.
Yeah, she doesn't know that if he's going to turn the gun on her. Like she doesn't see it as like, oh, here's this knight in shining armor. It's just here's this other horrible guy and this den of horrible guys, and they're all killing each other. Like it's a really horrible, messed up scene to watch. De Niro's incredible in it. This just cold, almost robotic like performance. And then obviously the scene at the end where Dino's been shot like 6 times or something in the stomach, and he puts the finger. He tries to shoot himself, obviously, and all the other guns are empty, and then he puts his finger gun to his head and mimics the gunshots as the police come in. And then that's when we get the sequence that he's back to being a taxi driver. He's got all his hair back again, and he's just driving quite thingless at the radio, and there's been no repercussions, even though he went and killed all these guys and stuff. Like there's no. Like even if it is real and he did survive, surely Jodie Foster's character would be like, this guy's a psycho. He wouldn't just be back driving his taxi; he'd be in prison. So yeah, I don't know. There's a lot to the end of Taxi Driver, but again, I don't know if it's the point, like whether it's real or not. I think it's an Taxi Driver's a character study. It's an introspective look into the mind of somebody who is lonely and maybe is an accidental hero, and I don't know. It's a really, and I feel like it really captures. I wasn't around in the 1970s, and I certainly was around in New York in the 1970s. But from what I've heard, this movie captures it perfectly. This just feels real. It feels legit. It doesn't feel like a studio. It doesn't feel like a set. It feels like a documentary almost, which makes some of the more violent scenes even kind of more disturbing.
Fucked up like that's like a warning sign of somebody saying, "Oh, that's how New York was." Fuck, that's fucking terrifying. New York was terrifying.
New York was terrifying in the 70s. It was known as like murder capital in the 70s.
Yeah. I mean, also Taxi Driver's obviously very much responsible, in my opinion, for so much that's came after it. Drive to some extent, like he's a loner that does violent things to save someone. Joker. You could even say the recent Joaquin Phoenix movie, Joker, very Scorsese inspired. And I mean, to be honest with you, Joker was just a worse taxi driver in my opinion. As much as I did quite like Joker, I was just this is as good as Scorsese did this better 30 years ago. Like that was all I kept thinking. The other one is that other Joaquin Phoenix movie, You Were Never Really Here, which is one set in the modern day, but again it's very taxi driver. And I think again he's like is he a Iraq war vet or something in that movie? Yeah. So again he's a war vet, and
it kind of seems like just the way that it actually ends, like it ends with him dropping off somebody, doesn't it? If I remember correctly.
I think so.
It's
It's been a while
somebody
since I've watched
it kind of somebody that looks like Jodie Foster or something like that. She's young, blonde. Can't really remember, but it's like that. That's the life it could. He's going to go forward with or something like that. He could potentially.
Yeah.
It's like a vision of like, see if he was to go forward with stuff, and
Like
because
what's to come, yeah.
he was kind of timid and kind of shy and stuff like that. So he's like,
And
maybe
there's
he's
also
planning it. You know, that's what he wants to do.
and there's also the idea that what if what actually happened was he did shoot that mare, and this is him thinking about what he should have done instead. Do you know what I mean? Like maybe he's dead or maybe he's in prison,
Yeah.
and he's thinking about like the alternative path. I don't know. There's so many ways you can sort of look at it, but Taxi Driver's a classic, man. I love that movie.
It's dark.
But you, Chris, you seem pretty sold on the idea that it's a dream, right? Are you?
I think it's like because you do get like, see when even when you're in the car, even when you're just a passenger, you do kind of go in a daydreaming mode. See if you're kind of continuously going in the same route or you know everything, your mind just goes on autopilot.
Yeah, you're on kind of autopilot. Yeah.
You could just daydream, and maybe cause he's like a Vietnam vet. He's caught probably some dark things, and he's translating that into the world he's in now.
Absolutely.
Instead of murdering people in the kind of a forest, he's murdering people in the city, just fantasizing about it. But it's like, it's one of those ones where it's scary that could happen to anyone.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird.
And the whole thing about the bloodshed at the end being pure messy, again, it wasn't in Vietnam. But from what I've heard, a lot of the combat was close up and messy. Like it wasn't shooting at targets for a distance. It was being in a crawl space, face to face with an enemy and having to stab somebody to death. Like it wasn't. There was nothing glamorous about it. Like there was no glory in it. It was just murder. Like it was just kill or be killed. Like
it was one of the kills. Like it kind of glorified. Like see when people like I used to even do that when I was young. Like used to kind of look at these people that would murder people and you go, oh, these are people, are strong people. Or like a weird sick way you would go in that route, but you realise that alright, this taxi driver, he's getting shot and he's like wounded and it's not a glamorous life. You know, it's like realistic.
I will say that, like I seen Taxi Driver at a pretty young age, and even as a kid, I never thought Travis Bickle was a good guy. Like I never saw him as a hero. Ever. Like I never thought that he was the good guy. That's not the point of the movie.
No.
The point of the movie is this guy's already messed up, and how's it going to culminate? Like, where's it going to go? It could just as well have ended with him killing an innocent person. Like, you know, there's no guarantee that it was going to end in a positive way, even if you count this as positive, because it's still pretty messed up. But yeah.
Because he did shave his head, didn't he? So like, you could say that, oh, that's his other alter ego. You know, when he shaved his head, that's the daydream sequence where he's like, this is what I want to do. You know.
I mean, I'm sure with Taxi Driver being the age it is and having the reputation that it's got, I'm sure there's thousands of like essays online that you can find.
That'll be definitely. I'd probably get taught in classes now. Like, it's definitely there.
Oh no, it's a pinnacle. Like, if they're not teaching at film school, then it's a bad film school. Like, see, speaking about it, I think it might be my favourite Scorsese. I don't know. I love Goodfellas, but
there's like so many. I love the Depart. I love all the fucking.
I love Departed. I love Guys in New York. I love
even the creepy one. What's the one where he's like another murderer? Like he's a really like southern murderer. And it's Robert De Niro. It's like Fear.
Oh, Cape Fear.
Cape Fear.
Yeah,
Raging Bull.
Cape Fear.
Man, there's Casino.
Casino.
Oh, Casino. Like,
Silence.
The priest one. And he's coming up with a new film.
Even The Irishman, like I do feel like The Irishman maybe didn't live up to the hype because it was Pacino, De Niro, and Pesci, like everybody was expecting.
Yeah, that was.
But it was just. I think it was a great movie. It just wasn't the movie we were anticipating. It was more a movie about mortality and getting old than it was about gangsters, which is still an interesting perspective. But yeah. Anyway,
Gangs of New York. Oh my god! Like I didn't even realize he directed that. Alright, that's one.
That's going to be a TV show, which is interesting.
Oh man, fucking hell.
The next movie is one of my favourite movies of all time, and one of the greatest and biggest endings, I think, and it's The Thing.
Oh, really?
The Thing.
The greatest of all time.
It's my favourite horror film of all time, 100%. It's my favourite horror film ever. It's just nobody touches John Carpenter, in my opinion. Nobody touches the suspense in that movie and the cold isolation of the Antarctic, and it's incredible. It's just a masterclass in terms of teaching movies in film school. The thing is a masterclass in like suspense and anticipation and building tension, and it's just
Did it not get remade like in the early 2000s? So you're not a fan of that one? Like you.
It was a prequel. They made a prequel, which was quite interesting to see. Like, because obviously at the start of the movie, you see the dog. Like the thing is in the dog at the start of the thing. You kind of see how the thing ended up in the dog.
I think I've seen a bit of that, but I've never seen the original.
Oh, we need one. We'll watch it.
You need one.
I was in the cinema. We should have went to see it recently. So the prequel was okay, but it was too much CGI. Another thing that made the original so timeless was the practical effects. Still the puppet work for the actual alien that's disgusting, and it still looks disgusting 20 years later. Like
it's very disturbing.
It's just it's masterful. But anyway, let's stop gushing. The end where it's him and what's the other guy called again? The two of them are sitting.
Oh, they're sitting.
It's Keith David. It's Keith David's the actor, which again, Keith David's this movie. Like, of course, it's a classic. But I can't remember the character's name. But anyway, it's the two. I think it is. I think it is Childs. So the two of them are sitting, and they know that one of them is the thing, and everyone else is dead. The centre has been burnt to the ground, and they're sitting in the gold, and they're probably going to freeze to death, even if they've killed the thing and they're both human, which I think is pretty much impossible at this point. They're still going to freeze to death, and the two of them just look at each other kind of knowingly, and the movie just ends. We never find out who was the thing. We never find out who died and who lived. It just leaves up to you.
I think it was Kurt Russell. Never know.
I don't know. I mean, the conclusion they jumped to, like, Kurt Russell was the protagonist, so you would, in your mind, you're like, oh, well, it's not him, it's going to be the other guy. But you're only saying that because it's Kurt Russell. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. It's just so well told, and that we touch of ambiguity at the end of the movie after all the kind of tension and horror and action that you've had. It's just like a wee cherry on top, man. It's just a pure chef's kiss.
It's one of those things, like, they've went through all that shite and they're going to die regardless, you know? Like, they're both just going to froze to death. It's like, alright, you've put all your effort into survive and just no luck.
There's a thing where, again, you can probably look this up, there's probably loads on the internet. I'm pretty sure there's a thing where you can see Kurt Russell's breath more than you can see Keith David's breath. So people are saying that it was breathing different, or it's breathing at a different rate.
Okay.
So maybe that's the alien. I can't remember. There's YouTube videos and there's video essays.
Oh, that is actually a thing, yeah. I'm just watching the clip now, and you can Kurt Russell's he's
like the way it's shot. I think it's shot to make it look like he's got more of a human breathing cycle than the other guy.
And so has the director or the writer ever came out and kind of said
Carpenter's never said
this is what we kind of thought it would be? No.
Nor Kurt Russell nor John Carpenter has ever said. Which I don't ever say, please. Like,
no,
I don't want to know.
you don't want to know.
That,
it'll take away from it for you.
It's like Sopranos. Like, you can't. I don't want to know. Like, it's perfect.
No.
Sopranos took me years to accept that.
No.
A long time to accept that. Me and Courtney are going to do. I've been teasing this for a while, I think. But at some point, we're going to do an episode of For Our Consideration on the best and worst TV endings of all time, and we will definitely get Sopranos on there.
Oh.
Do like a whole episode on just the Sopranos.
We could just do a whole episode of the Sopranos finale. Do you know what that might?
That might end up being what that episode is.
We could make a series. We could do like Sopranos. We could do Breaking Bad. Yeah, totally. Anyway, this is all for another day. And also, we've got a pure backlog of movies to talk about on FOC. But anyway, that's all by the by. Chrissy, who do you think was at the end of the thing? Do you think it was Kurt Russell? Do you think it was Keith David? Do you think it was either of them? And the two of them are just paranoid?
It could be that's the interesting bit. Like the paranoid bit is more interesting for me. Is it Keith David or is it Carter? I don't know. It's one of them. But it's like I think the more like they've went through such a traumatic event, and I think one thing that would be more interesting if they were both human, and like that standoff. And it's like it brings back to the whole human element of not trusting one another. And like you're just buggered.
But that's the thing. I think that's why this ending sums up the movie so well. Because even though the movie I don't really think of the thing as an alien movie, even though obviously it is.
Mm-hmm.
I think of it more as a movie about trust. Like it's about doubting other people and not knowing who they really are. That's really what it's about, more so than the fact it's an alien. Like that's just kind of by the by. It's not an alien movie like Alien is or Predator. Like those are alien movies. Whereas this to me is more. It's more about
human nature.
Yeah.
Which is one of the scariest things.
Deceit and lies and not being able to trust the people you're maybe in this movie they're working together. But yeah, like whatever situation you're in. So it's an interesting explanation on like isolation and just trust us among like a group of people that
it shows like if you have say if you've been isolated for a long time you can go insane. Like it is like a kind of
we all kind of saw that with COVID, did we know?
Exactly. Like if you're stuck in the same four walls or anything like that and you don't see another human or something like that, it's a weird world you go into. So it's interesting. I like that when it's like you go from like an alien movie and it brings it to a human aspect and you're like, oh man, we're awful people. Like we're awful creatures. Like we don't trust anybody. Like even if it comes to a life or death situation, we're still in it for ourselves. Very selfish.
Just before we go any further,
yeah,
I've got a really horrible question to ask you.
Go.
Is this recording?
Yes.
Just because that isn't.
Yeah, no, that's okay. It's because we're not doing the video.
Oh, good, right, okay, that's good. Sorry, carry on. 1 hour 36 is when you need to edit that.
So. No Country for Old Men's on this list, but I don't really see that as ambiguous.
No. Well, I mean, in the end, you don't know if he gets.
Tommy Lee Jones speaks about a dream that he had, but I don't really see that as ambiguous. I don't know, like, it's more abrupt, the ending of No Country for Old Men, than it is ambiguous. Like, the fact that Josh Brolin dies off screen and Javier Bardem just kind of gets away at the end.
Just wanders away.
It's more sort of. I wouldn't say it's ambiguous, it's more just abrupt.
Is that trying to, like, suggest that it all could have been one of his dreams?
I don't know. Is that what this is trying to say? That it was a dream? I know that Tommy Lee Jones speaks to his wife at the dinner table or the breakfast table, I think it is, the day after all this shit's been down, about a dream that he had, and you're sort of meant to connect that to what you've just seen. But I don't really see it as ambiguous. But I don't. Maybe I'm missing something. Chrissy, what do you think?
I don't think so.
I have no idea. Like, the only way I can see it is, like, you just don't know if he escaped, like the Javier Bardem, like that's it. Like, because he did just kind of wander off, so you don't know if he's still out there. Because like the whole point was him to get like money, wasn't it? Is that the whole point of it? Like to get?
Yeah. It was all to do with a heist. Yeah. Because the money and the truck, the deal. That got stolen. Yeah, that's the whole.
And he was he one of the guys that was like looking for the money, so he knew about it. He wasn't just a random psychopath.
No, he was a hitman. He was sent by whoever the money belonged to. He was sent to sort of find the money and kill everybody that was involved, basically. Yeah.
Which he does a very good job of doing.
one of the best movies that was one of the first times I probably watched like a Conan film, like the both brother films, with knowing it was them, and I was like, all right, these guys are good filmmakers, like good writers, good film.
It's the best for me. It's the best Coen Brothers film. I'm sort of touch and go with Coen Brothers. Like everybody loves Big Lebowski. It's not for me at all.
Oh, is it not?
Nah, I'm not a fan.
With your lifestyle, I am shocked.
I've never seen it.
I think you fell asleep. I'm not a fan of Lebowski, to be honest. But I like Fargo. Fargo's great, the movie. And yeah, I mean, I respect the Coen Brothers. They're good filmmakers. And yeah, I just think No Country for Old Men is probably their best. So next on this list is The Shining, another horror classic.
I mean, yeah. I mean,
again, I would say the part about it being ambiguous is sort of not tacked on, but it sort of feels like it does kind of feel like an epilogue, like a kind of afterthought.
Yeah, I agree.
Because you've already got the twist of he's not been writing a screenplay the whole time, he's just been writing All Work and No Play Make Jack a Dull Boy. And then Wendy and the kids are able to sort of beat him in the maze when he freezes to death. So you've already had all that, and then at the end you've got this other twist where he's in the photo.
Of like the house ages, like from like
the old Overlook.
Yeah.
I took it more as either he's, because I mean in the movie there is ghosts, like the woman in the bath is a ghost. So
my issue with him being a ghost is like, how did they drive the car there then?
No. So I'm saying he's not a ghost all the way through the film, but when he died in that maze, he became a ghost in the house.
Oh, okay.
So he went to that photo in the wall, even though it says 1900s or whatever. That's really just representative of all the people that have died in that house or in the hotel, and that's the people that haunt it. And now he's going to be someone that haunts it. That's how I've always kind of took it.
That's
like he died there.
Because that always bothered me.
The hotel kind of got to him and his mind and took his mind away from him, and then when his physical body died in the maze, that's where he exists now.
The hotel
so it's like the hotel's got it's boasting of all these people they've killed. Wow.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I prefer that.
That was one of the weirdest movies I think I've watched when I was a kid. With like, see the bear and the kind of guy in a suit scene.
Yeah.
That scared the living shit out of me.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's just one of those movies you're just what.
But Kubrick was good at that though. Kubrick was good at freaking you out with weird imagery. That was big thing for him.
See what I never really appreciated when I was like younger, and now I really do appreciate. See, just the way it's like a wide camera lens, and you see the environment, and the environment's so sharp, and everything, even in the toilets where it's like bright red, it's all sending a message.
I love the cinematography and the thing, and I love the sets.
Yeah. Like the amount, like I've heard that he's supposed to be a really angry director. So like,
he's meant to be a horrible director.
Well, that movie unfortunately pretty much ruined. What's her name?
Is it no Shelley Duvall?
Shelley Duvall. Pretty much ruined Shelley Duvall's life and career.
Like mental state kind of thing, just by the
pressure. She was bullied to the point that she would just be a husk of a woman, which is amazing in the context of the movie because that's the character, but it's not worth ruining someone's life. It's not ruining someone's mental health for the sake of a role. That's tragic that that was allowed to happen. That she was allowed to be bullied as much as that, and maybe not physically abused, but verbally abused to the point that she was like sort of checked out and just sort of upset all the time. And again, perfect for the character of Wendy Torrance, but not worth ruining a woman's mental health.
I think that's one thing that he was one of those guys that wanted it a certain way, and he knew how to get it, and he didn't care how it happened. He wanted it for.
And he would do a thing where he would make Shelley Duvall do like 100 takes of one line of dialogue, and then Nicholson would walk in and do 2 takes, and he'd go, right, that's you. Do you know what I mean? So he was away living it up. He was having a party. He was away in his trailer getting drunk and going out with women and whatever Jack Nicholson did in the 80s. And she was on set the whole time, getting forced to work till she was a burnt out shell of a person. Totally.
That's
messed up.
That's quite sad.
I mean, you like to think that nowadays, because of actors' unions and stuff, that doesn't happen, but then you use about all the Me Too shit, and you're like, oh, that didn't help anything. It's still Hollywood's still a shambles. But anyway.
I mean, it's quite sad that he's probably one of the famous, one of the best directors, and he's quite an abusive guy.
Like, whether you think he's got a good method of making films or not, he has made great movies. Like, there's no denying that. Like,
a great movie
Full
after
Metal
great
Jacket,
movie.
Eyes Wide Shut, and look at his filmography.
Yeah.
But it's just, where do you draw the line? Like, where do you feel like it's worth it, and where do you feel like it's like, this isn't worth like making this? Do you know what I mean? It's just Anyway, The Shining. Below that, I think we'll make this the last one, because this is the big one.
Is it? Is it really Inception? Like, I never really took. I never really dived into too much meaning with this. Like, did you go into when I left the theater? I was like, all right, okay. He's not in his own. He's dreaming it. That's the way I looked at it. Like, it wasn't like a.
You think he's dreaming?
I think that.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, do you not?
Wow. So, Right, so the first time I seen it was whether you think it's a dream or not, it was a masterful ending because everybody was speaking about it. Like for the next, we were in school at the time, and for the next however long,
6 months,
like what us and our nerdy pals in school, all we spoke about was it real, was it not, you know? So that sort of ending that sticks with you. I also think, to me, Nolan is very much like the Stanley Kubrick of this generation. I kind of compare them in a lot of ways. I think they're very similar filmmakers.
Probably less abusive.
I'm going to say I'm not saying Nolan's abusive to his actors, but I just mean in terms of their style of filmmaking and their kind of final products and stuff. There's a similarity to them. So the end of Inception, I'm actually writing a video essay for Fandom Wire, which will be coming out at some point, and it's very much based around Inception. The conclusion I've came to recently. So after at first it was just, was it real, was it not? And then when I remember the movie came out in Blu-ray, and I got it in Blu-ray because it was like 2010 or whatever. And rewatching it, you do see the spinning top slightly wobble before the camera cuts. It starts to wobble. So I think that, or at least my thoughts at the time were the fact that the thing wobbles and the fact that you see Cobb's children's faces tells you that it's not a dream, that it's real.
But he could have woke up.
Well, you never see, when he's dreaming and he sees his children, he always wakes up before the kids turn around, and before he gets to see their faces, he wakes up. That's like a plot device. So the fact that the kids turn around and he doesn't wake up, and then the fact that the spinning top wobbles. Also, there's a thing where when Cobb's wearing his wedding ring, this is according to like YouTube people, right? So I don't know if this is true.
All right. You went at the analysts.
Apparently, well, when I was researching my video essay, I found all this. When he's wearing his wedding ring, he's in a dream, because in his dream he's still married to Mal.
Yep.
Whereas in real life, Mal's dead, so he doesn't have his ring on in the last scene, which means it's likely not a dream. And then there's also the fact that Michael Caine was apparently speaking to Chris Nolan when he got given the script, and he was like, "Christopher, I'm confused."
Oh God, let's stop there. Let's stop there.
What is a dream and what is not a dream, Christopher? Right? That's a vital kind of fish. Really bad. Really bad. We've just lost our one listener there. So he was asked that, and Chris Nolan told him that any scene that you're in isn't a dream. Apparently, any scene that Michael Caine's in is happening in the real world, and Michael Caine's in that last scene. So there's all of that, which I think that in Nolan's mind, I think this is one of the ambiguous endings that I'd say the director's opinion comes through. I think from what I see in it, in Nolan's mind, it's not a dream. But rewatching it recently for this video essay and doing all this research, I kind of think that's not the point. Like, the point isn't whether it's a dream or not. The point is Cobb had to go on this journey. He had to go through all the shit he went through and go to limbo and, you know, let go of his wife, his dead wife. And it's Inception's a really personal movie. Like, again, this is something that I kind of knew about. Like, I've always known that it's about a film crew. Like, Leo's the director, Tom Hardy's the actor, Joseph Gordon-Levitt's the producer, Elliot Page is the set designer. You know, they've all got these roles. Ken Watanabe's like the studio because he's funding it all. But the fact that Leo is Chris Nolan in this movie, like Cobb is Nolan, and I think the whole thing that's driving Cobb forward is his regret. He feels guilty for ruining his wife's mind, which leads to her suicide. And that regret, he keeps seeing Mal in his dreams in his subconscious. And that is the physical embodiment of that character's regret. I think that's also speaking to Chris Nolan's regrets as a filmmaker. I think it's about the decisions he's made and hasn't made and had to live with, and letting go of them and moving on. And I think that's the point of the end of Inception, in my opinion. I think it's more about Chris Nolan saying, I don't know, like, you need to go on these journeys and you need to come to these conclusions and you need to go through all this shit to get to the goods. And then you need to let go of the regrets because it doesn't matter. It's a thing in the past. You just need to move on. That to me is the message of Inception. I don't really think the spinning top matters. Like, the fact it's a dream really matters. But maybe I'm looking too much into it.
That actually connects to something. It was about, I don't know if, like, in the film, I'm sure I heard it somewhere that one of the kids is actually Chris Nolan's kid.
It is, yeah.
That is, yeah.
So that
right.
actually kind of
The
connects.
wee boy, isn't it?
So, like, it's like his...
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Chris Nolan's actual children. So, I mean, for all intents and purposes, like, I know that Leo's better looking than Chris Nolan, or at least he was when he made Inception. But the fact that they're both guys that wear suits and they've got slick black blonde hair and they are the director of this operation, like, there's so many parallels that can be drawn. I don't think Mal represents Chris Nolan's wife. You know, like, I don't think it's that parallel.
Are you going into his, like, pure personal life? Like, what happened to...
No, but I would actually say that there's that old saying about these, like, auteurs and stuff, that they're married to their work.
Totally.
And that, to me, is what that represents.
Yep.
Mal is his regrets as a filmmaker, and that's what he's married to.
Not his regrets as a husband.
Not his regrets as a... Yeah, that's the way I see it. And also, I probably do think, though, there is a bit of guilt. The whole thing about Leo trying to get home to his children. Being a filmmaker, you're probably away from home a lot. And you probably do miss a lot of your kids growing up. So I think there is a bit of that reflected here as well. And I think knowing all that, and obviously being a Nolan fan, just makes the movie better. Like, yeah, Inception is that movie that I saw at the time, and okay, it's a bit long and a bit dreamy and a bit artsy fartsy, but when you kind of realise the reason for him making it and stuff, and the point he made it in his career, and the fact that this is like an introspective art house movie made on a budget of, I can't remember what the budget was, it's in my video review, but it's astronomical. Like, the fact that he got a studio to sign this off, it's not based on another, like, book or a sequel or a character like Batman. It's an original idea. I think that's the most impressive thing about Inception to me.
Definitely for me, going back in and rewatching Inception, obviously with you doing this video essay, and we had a very similar discussion where you brought up all those topics you just brought up there. Like, that shone a whole different light on that film for me, and I actually enjoyed it a lot more than what I remember. Because it was a film that I'd seen again, like, when it came out. Couldn't really remember a whole bunch of it. Like, it wasn't something that I massively cared about. But going back and watching it with all of that in mind, from everything you had just said, it definitely improved the film for me. I had a much more enjoyable experience with that film that time round there.
Trish, do you still think it's a dream?
Oh, I was going to go on the dark side of it. Like, that's still a dream. Yeah, but I really do like that concept. I think that's really, like, it's a kind of his own story through time and how he's he's created some fucking amazing films, but he's lost the childhood probably. He's been too focused on his work and missing the whole... Oh my god, that's amazing. But yeah, I still think it is. No, but like, see have that kind of creative freedom after he came off of, like, the whole Dark Knight
stuff,
Rises and stuff like that, and being able to create something and it's actually interesting. It shows that he's not just... Because some people would just create the Dark Knight trilogy. He's a great director, but can't actually tell a story.
He's not just one note.
Yeah. I think Inception's a movie, whether you like it or not, it's a movie that he had to make, I think, on his kind of personal journey as a director. And I think that's why it's an important movie to me, because, you know, I'm a Chris Nolan fan. So I guess maybe if you're not a Nolan fan, you're not as invested. It might not hit as hard for you. You might just think it's an artsy-fartsy movie about dreams. But... It is.
Which it is.
It is, but
like
Taxi Driver's not about being a hero. This movie isn't really about dreams. It's about learning to live with your mistakes and grow from them and accept it for what it is. And yeah, I don't know. There's more to it than meets the eye, I think. But hey, it's also about, like, getting trapped in your own mind, because that's the whole thing in Inception, is, like, they get trapped in their own mind, and I think that's a big thing for, like, directors and auteurs. You get so close to your work that you can't even see it for what it is because you're in it. I think that's, like, the whole metaphor for, like, limbo in the movie and stuff. So yeah, there's loads of stuff to it. It's quite even though it's a fantastical kind of fantasy movie almost, it's very kind of autobiographical.
Wow, that is totally put a different spin on it. That's interesting.
There you go. If you want to go and rewatch Inception,
I really
go for it.
That was really good.
There will be a video essay on the Fandom Wire YouTube channel, which I'll be sharing on my Twitter when it's out. So if you want to follow me at danboy95, you can see the video. It'll probably not be out for a couple of weeks, I would imagine, because they do take a while to get edited and shit. But yeah, it should be good. So, on that
That's
note, I do know. Yeah, no, I'm done with this list. Chris, do you have a favourite Ambiguous ending? Like all the ones we spoke about, or maybe ones we didn't speak about?
One, not when it comes to me. Like
out of all them, for me, my favourite's The Thing. I think that ending of The Thing sums up the themes of that movie perfectly. Like, The Shining, as much as I like the idea that he becomes a ghost and that kind of immortalises the movie and the character and stuff, I also think that it feels a bit. It doesn't feel like it really feeds into the whole movie, does it? It feels a wee bit tacked on. Whereas, like the thing being all about not trusting each other, and then ending on that cliffhanger, where even the audience can't trust who it is, I think is just genius. Courtney, do you have a favourite, or has your opinion changed about Biggest Endings?
No, I still don't like them. But no, I would probably say that now, upon like the recent rewatch that we've had, my favourite probably would be Inception. But I think that is because I see it as it is one, but it isn't one.
Yeah.
Because I do believe that it wasn't a dream, that it was real life, and blah blah. And you've kind of had the director confirm that with Michael Caine, and
that's my brilliant impression.
Loads of different things like that. I would probably give it to Inception now. I think
one thing the one thing that I remember watching it, and I remember like it was we're not mentioning it. It was the actual Graduate film. It's such a weird film in itself, as if you're a young person watching it. But see, the ending, it reminds me of like anything that I've done in my life. You dive in head first without actually thinking about the consequences or the ramifications of it, and it really puts you into the mindset of, all right, okay, other people do this, and that's what I am doing right now. You know, where like I think it's like a life changing event, and you've realised you've made it, and you're in that mindset. Is this the correct one? I think and you're never going to figure out if it's the right one. That's the interesting part. It's like, well, I'm on this path now. I've only got one choice, so I'll take it. It's like a nice wee kind of. It always goes back to the human experience. You're like, well, I've got two paths to take. I'm going to take this one and see what happens. There's no going back.
Sure.
And it's I really thought that one stuck with me as it's just a wee kind of, all right. It's nothing crazy as Inception, but I remember watching that movie and coming back that, all right, okay, make your decisions wisely. So, yeah.
On that note, I liked that. It was a nice piece of like introspection at the end there. Subscribe to the channel, drop us a like, check out our other episodes, check out my reviews, which I'll link below.
Indeed.
Thanks for watching. Courtney, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, guys.
Lovely joining you.
Chris, thanks for coming on. That was good. If you listen to this and you've got any things you want to let us know about in the comments in terms of anything we spoke about, but specifically the Ambiguous ending things, let us know. Is there any that we've missed that you're like, oh, that's a belter that we didn't talk about? Or is there any that we spoke about that you're like, oh, that's definitely this, it's definitely that? Let us know. And yeah, we'll be back next week doing the same shit, different day. We'll have another topic. And hopefully some news, hopefully something will happen worth talking about.
Hopefully some positive news.
Yeah, no more deaths, please.
Nice news.
No more icons of the industry dying, please. That would be nice. R.I.P. Kevin Conroy. Subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you on the next page.